accept responsibility because it's the right thing to do, but let's not be naive. Part of the reasons these people are accepting responsibility and cooperating is because they want this coveted 5K1 letter, which is a letter the government would write to a judge articulating why the defendant who cooperated should get a shorter sentence. So people who cooperate hope people who have just been indicted may go to trial so they can testify. And if they're convicted, which most people are in about 15 seconds in federal court, the person who cooperated can get credit. So the U.S. attorney is going to reward those people who cooperated. The cooperators are going to get measurably shorter sentences. Even people who could be more culpable, if they cooperate, can get a shorter sentence than someone who is involved more tangential or on the periphery, which is why if you're in trouble, it's in your interest to immediately retain a good lawyer, work openly with the lawyer, understand what you did, and to the extent that you can get in front of a U.S. attorney and help them understand what happened, not only do you get closer to justice or bringing other people to justice, you get more of what you want, a shorter sentence.
So I came across that while I was looking at the Matthew Perry case with the 5 people who have now been arrested, because 3 of the 5 have admitted guilt, and they were speculating that they probably have done a deal, meaning that they are going to get a much, much smaller sentence than the people who are being indicted but aren't admitting guilt. So it got me thinking about the situation with Kiely Rodni. Now, before I go further into that, let's have a look at what he was talking about in terms of the 5K1 letter. Now, this is something that many of us have discussed over the past 2 years with relation to Kiely's case. The fact that if anyone chooses to step up and do the right thing and speak out, even if they were somehow involved, they're going to get a far, far, far smaller sentence than someone who doesn't speak up. And given that whatever happened to Kiely happened at a party, I think there's a lot of people that do know what happened. Meaning that sooner or later, someone's going to realise that it's in their best interests to come forward and speak to authorities, if they haven't already done so. For all we know, part of the silence could be that there are people who have spoken to authorities and have been offered immunity for doing so. Now, you all know the whole immunity deal, but this puts it in solid writing. So, what is a 5K1 letter? A 5K1 letter is a document that the US Attorney's Office files with the Federal District Court judge to seek leniency on your behalf with the court at sentencing. 5K1 letters, which are also disparagingly called snitch letters or snitch credit, are given to defendants who cooperate with the government and provide substantial assistance in the investigation or apprehension of others for criminal conduct. So you have Section 3553E of US Sentencing Guidelines. Upon motion of the government, the court shall have the authority to impose a sentence below a level established by statute as a minimum sentence so as to reflect a defendant's substantial assistance in the investigation or prosecution of another person who has committed an offence. So what does it all mean? What are the benefits? Just for an example, let's say you have a 10-year minimum, 120 months on your case, with guidelines of 135 to 168 months. The government files a 5K1 letter on your behalf. The judge will give you a sentence of 120 months because that's the statutory minimum on your case. They can't go below the statutory minimum without a motion pursuant to USSG 3553, which is what we just looked at. However, if the government is filing a motion pursuant to USSG 3553, the judge is able to go below the mandatory minimum. Thus, in the above example, your sentence could be less than 120 months. So basically, it comes down to the discretion of the judge. They can give you less than what is the statutory minimum for whatever it is that you are being charged with. Now, what I was saying about, for all we know, there could be people who have already come forward and done a deal. This is particularly interesting, this paragraph. At some point during your cooperation, the government will schedule your case for a guilty plea, either before a district court or a magistrate judge. Usually cases on which individuals have been cooperating are done under seal, meaning your active case won't show up on PACER. Only you, your attorney, prosecutor, case agents and the judge and their court staff will know that you have pleaded guilty and have an ongoing criminal matter. In other words, it is quite possible, in terms of Kiely's case, that someone may have gone forward and said, here's my role in whatever happened. They may have gone through proceedings and perhaps been given a charge. They may not have yet been sentenced if things haven't come to fruition in terms of other charges being made. But there could be people who have gone to court and pled guilty for involvement in Kiely's case, and that it would be all under wraps. We wouldn't know the first thing about it, because it doesn't even get on PACER. It is kept under seal. Interesting thought. So when you think about Sammy Smith, maybe she did a deal. She got herself a criminal lawyer. Maybe she did a deal and that's why she went quiet. Maybe she's dumped others in it. I doubt very much that Megan Cole would have had the intelligence to have done a deal. Because I think that, well, there's so much against her online. This is a woman who came forward and said, I've come out to protect the kids. She's talked so much about Sammy Smith and about protecting Sammy Smith. She has on multiple occasions hinted that she knows so much more, or in fact she's said outwardly she knows so much more. It's only when people started putting pressure on her that she turned around and started saying, I know nothing. But there is so much online, so much digital evidence to dump her in it, that she's the sort of person that would do well to get herself a criminal lawyer and go and speak to the courts. Because even if she wasn't directly involved in whatever happened to Kiely, she's essentially admitting that she has knowledge. She could face jail time if that is true, because she is covering up for a crime. She could be an accessory to manslaughter, for example, if she does in fact know the things that she claims she's saying. Is she covering for her own kids? She would do better to get lawyers for her own kids if they were involved, because sooner or later it'll all come out. Mags Larson, maybe she's done a deal. We know that she went pretty quiet early on. She was pretty traumatised. She, to me, I believe that she knew something. She knew something had happened to Kiely, and I believe that she probably knew exactly what happened to Kiely. Is her silence because she has spoken and done a deal? So it's been said multiple times by multiple creators that the children and adults who are all a part of what happened to Kiely or covering up for the kids would do well to step up and actually get themselves representation and speak up about what happened to Kiely. It's all very well to sit there and believe that, well, it's been 2 years, no one's going to say anything, nothing's going to come of it. But you never know what's going on in the background. You never know who's already spoken. For all you know, there could be prosecutors preparing a case, preparing to go in front of a grand jury, or preparing to go to a judge so that arrests can be made. So I'm amazed that there's this many people, because I believe that a lot of people do know what happened to Kiely. And it's a bit like a game of Russian roulette, hoping that everyone else stays silent, not knowing if someone else may have already gone forward and said their piece. To me, it just seems like the most logical thing that anyone involved in whatever happened to Kiely, anyone with knowledge of what happened to Kiely, anyone that's covering up for someone who was involved in what happened to Kiely, it would be in their best interests to step up and speak out. Because when the hammer falls, it's only them. No one else is going to care about them. No one else is going to speak up on their behalf. It's going to be each man for themselves. So I wonder if those people involved with what happened to Kiely have really thought this through. Because it is good advice. And what the lawyer was saying at the start of this video is spot on. There is a mandatory minimum that a judge has to give. The only way you can get less than that minimum is if you testify against others. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me.